starting today with just our feet hip width apart, and we're going to take a big yawn. So I want you to wipe the backs of your hands up the side seam of your top and then reach the arms up to the ceiling. When you get to the ceiling, I want you to just do some twiddles, and you're really trying to lift up. So twiddles with your hands, do the sea anemones, and then close your eyes, keep the twiddles going with your fingers and slowly lower your arms. Your hands down by your side, and as your hands come past your shoulders and your body and they're dropping down, feel like the top of your head is lifting up through the centre. And then we're going to gently take a roll down, chin onto the chest, soften the knees, relax all the way down, feel like you're hanging from your waist and then rolling all the way back up again. And then start to just twiddle those hands again, fingers on the way up. And open your eyes and let's go again. Wiping the hands at the backs of the hands at the side seam of your torso, reaching up, twiddling those fingers. Maybe a little extra stretch one side and then the other, and then close your eyes. Feel like the top back corner of your head is lifting up past your hands. Hands are drawing down. Keep the twiddling going this time, all the way down for that roll down. Keep moving. Be aware of your breathing. All the way down to the floor, soft knees, and rolling back up again. Let's take one more of those. Hands at the side, seam, reaching up. Little bit more of a stretch either side. And then really lift that top corner, the back of your head up through your arms. It's like your arms are sort of the rain showering down on you. All the way down. Maybe this time, little straightening of the legs and then rolling up. Great job. Okay, we're going to stretch our neck in a moment, but before we stretch the neck, let's just take some nice shoulder rolls. So double shoulder rolls going backwards, followed by some single shoulder rolls. And then let's come forwards with single shoulder rolls. This is just about getting all those muscles warm around your rib cage, and then maybe some double shoulder rolls. Coming forwards and then taking some low sweeping figure of eights. And this isn't about my arms, it's about my shoulders. Rounding them forwards, pinning them back. Rounding forwards. You could take your hands on your shoulders, bring those elbows forwards and back again. Same sort of thing, same sensation. And this is all building up to just drawing a figure of eight with the tip of your nose. The figure of eight is in front of your face and it's lying on its side. And again, if you can, close your eyes. So not too fast, not too big, just check it out. Remember, the figure of eight is lying on its side, it's not upright. And then change direction. And you might be getting lots of crunches, clunks, clicks, and that's absolutely fine, perfectly normal. Just be aware of your fingertips lightly touching your legs. And then if that all feels okay, and it will start to ease off, the clunking and the clicking will ease off, just gently turn the head from side to side. Keeping that contact, fingertips to your legs, so that you know that your shoulders and your arms aren't moving. Being aware of your shoulders not following you, not following the head, I should say. So keeping the head nice and still. Again, once this feels okay, move on to another stretch, facing forwards. Keep the eyes closed if you can. Tipping the ear, tilting the head from side to side. Tipping the ear towards the shoulder, lifting the other ear up. And this is a classic, this is where the leg, you will feel potentially your fingers moving up and down your legs because your shoulders are joining in. There's not a great deal of movement here. And then maybe staying on that diagonal, just really gently. When I put this class together, I was feeling very sore from my training the day before, first run of class. and I just wanted something that would just get me warm and yeah, just everything lubricated all over. So that's what this class is about today. Great job. We are moving into some ribcage circles. So just clasping your hands, circling your hands around, and just focus on the hands and taking that great big circle. And then change direction. So there's a little bit, I've opened up my feet a little bit wider, knees are slightly soft, there's a slight movement in the opposite direction, but don't go too crazy. And don't worry about the coordination of this. When you want to try and get a little bit more movement in the rib cage, just think about when the arms are forwards, when the hands are forwards, I'm pushing back with my ribs. When I take my hands to the left, I push my ribs to the right, and then when I bring my hands in, I'm bringing my rib cage forwards. Hands to the right, ribs to the left, and the rib cage gently goes around in the opposite direction. If you don't overthink it, it's probably happening anyway. Good, lovely. Keep the feet wide. Let's go for the hip circles. So remember, imagine your hula hoop. I have a hula hoop, but it's a bit big. Imagine a smaller hula hoop. So you're trying to touch all around the inside edge of that hula hoop and going the other way. Whilst lifting the rib cage off of the hips, creating that space, creating that length in the spine. You don't want it to feel crunchy, you just want it to feel good. Okay, feet and knees together. Fingertips touching your knees. You're not resting your hands on your thighs, but just fingertips touching your knees. Basically so that you keep your knees at the same height all the way around. Not allowing your back to round, stick your bottom out a little bit. So just keep touching those hands to the knees. And then you're trying to take your knees, both knees, in the biggest circle that you can manage without letting go. So if you let go and stand up, that's going to change the whole exercise. And then when I'm really going as far as I can, there's loads of lovely movement going on in the ankles and the feet. Change direction if you haven't already. Just preparing our bodies, preparing our ankles, knees, especially for any sort of eventuality, which may or may not happen when you're walking along sometimes. Okay, knee circles into some pony trots, but quite relaxed pony trots. I'm just going to go sideways. So up onto the balls of the feet. You might want to just use a wall or the back of a chair for a bit of support here. But initially we're just going up and then lowering the heel. Legs are quite straight. And what I'm thinking about doing, and not on the leg that's the heel that's down, but on the other leg with the heels lifted, I'm pushing my toes over a little bit. So I'm getting this nice stretch underneath my instep. I'm going to add to this and just bend the leg that's in the floor, so the heel that's down, and then coming up, lower the straight leg, bend that knee, much tighter on my tighter side, much more uncomfortable on my tighter side I should say, straightening that leg to go up to the top. So try not to miss out. I don't want to be too picky with this, but try and keep it quite accurate with the straightening of the leg in between. So you're going through that stage every time. Great, last part of this, to make it our slow pony trots, we're just going to pop the toes on the other foot. I'm lifting my foot up a little bit, really nicely pointed with those toes, lifting the knee up, lift the heels, lower the straight leg, bend the standing leg and pop the toes. This knee doesn't have to be this high. I've just lifted it up so that you can see it properly. In fact, I should keep it a little bit lower. Again, so I'm using the wall just to help me, because I don't want to have to worry about my balance here. I want to worry about going through every joint, warming it all up, and just getting everything warmed up without that fear of toppling over or without being distracted by a lack of balance. Brilliant. Okay, let's just carry on. So we've pretty much done from the top to the toes. Let's just do a little bit of walking around on the balls of the feet, high up as you can. just up and down your yoga mat. Hopefully you've got space. And then on your heels, completely on your heels, waking up those feet. And then the outside edge of your feet, otherwise known as the John Wayne. It makes me feel like I want to do this with my arms as well. John Wayne or the orangutan, I guess. And actually I think that's maybe how they walk, I don't know, but it feels very orangutan-y. Last one, the worst one, rolling in on the inside edge of your toes. Don't do this for too long, but see if you can lift all the other toes up. Notice how everything rotates in, feels like you want to implode as well in that upper body. And then just take some nice normal walks, forwards and backwards. Imagine that lovely straight line down to the centre of your foot. And that should feel, hopefully, quite pleasant now. Great, we're going to get down to the floor. We're going to come down to the floor via our shoelace lunge, which is the one we did last week. Just have a little look if you're not sure. So you're going to step one leg back. You are literally going to do your shoelaces. So touch both hands to the top of the foot that's in front. Get your chest over your thigh. Really hinge at the hip. Then it's easy to drop that knee down. Bring the other knee together. So bring the knees together, swap legs, go to do your shoelaces again, curl the toes up, put the weight forwards and stand up. And then we're going to swap the other leg. To get down to the floor, practicing our shoelace lunge. So I'm going to take one leg back, I'm doing my shoelaces, keeping the back pretty much in its natural curves, hinging at the hip, knee down, other knee down, swap the legs over just as an exercise. Do the shoelaces of the other foot and then come up. And then one more, down to the floor. Sorry, that was bad. So this is how I don't want you to do it, as we would sometimes do, keeping that spine really upright. I want you to go for that shoelace lunge. So when you're there, then you're dropping the knee down and then coming down onto both knees. Maybe swapping over, I'm going to do one more of those to get down to the floor again. So shoelaces is your priority. Chest on thigh, knee down and knee down. Great job. Okay, we are going to be kneeling up to start with, and we're taking a roll down from this position. So I'm going to stay sideways. Actually, I'm fiddling my mat that way. So kneeling up nice and high, if you can. Hopefully you're okay with that. And we're going to take a roll down from here, chin onto the chest, allowing the arms to hang, and you'll get so far and your hips will start to go back towards your heels. Absolutely let that happen. Just watch me once. So rolling down, hips going back towards your heels. When you can't go anymore, let your hips go all the way back on your heels and start to itsy bitsy spider your hands out along the floor. So maybe have the knees slightly wider than hip width apart. Stretch out there, and then we're going to roll back up. As you roll back up, tuck under with that pelvis, drive the hips forwards and stack the vertebrae one on top of the other. So here we go. We're going to take some different things when we're down on the floor. So chin onto the chest. Keep those thighs nice and upright and perpendicular for as long as possible, rounding the spine, but there will come a point where it's quite natural for the hips to go back on the heels. Itsy bitsy spider. Keep those fingertips moving all the way. And then reach out. When you're there, just take a slightly mad sway from side to side, just gently rocking side to side. I'm taking my ear to the inside of the arm, towards the elbow, and then we're going to roll back up. So strongly tucking under, push that pubic bone forwards, unravel to the top. Let's go again. Chin onto the chest, rounding the spine. Let those hips go back. Start at your knees with your fingertips. Itsy bitsy spider all the way out. And a little sway from side to side. This time let's walk the hands round towards the camera. Hold it there, your hands are together. You're going to feel a very strong stretch on the side seam, on the side that you've walked your hands away from. Hold it there, breathe. Nice and deeply. It's quite a burning type stretch. It's not overly comfortable, but stick with it if you can. From there, once that stretch has eased off a little bit, lift your upper back and just push your chest back down. So I call these back pops. It's not a very big movement. I'm just trying to lift my back, drop it down. Again, we're trying to get everything moving and warming up. And then I'm going to walk my hands round, away from the camera, until you find that biting point for that stretch. It's like a burning stretch down the side seam of your back. It's unusual, shall we say. It's not overly comfortable, but this is the only time I really feel this particular type of stretching. It's an odd one. So once that started to ease off a little bit, lift your upper back, push your chest down, lifting and lowering. And then walking the hands back. Brilliant. Let's come back to hands nice and wide. Your hips are back on your heels, towards your heels, and coming back to the slightly mad sway from side to side. I'm just going to move my mat a bit more of an angle. So we're swaying from side to side, and then I just want you to come up onto all fours using this swaying motion, and then allow your hips to drop to the floor and lift your chest into just a cobra, but quite relaxed cobra, and then tuck under with the pelvis and drop back on your heels, and then swaying again, and sort of a wiggle through. When you get your hips all the way forward, stay still. You could move a little bit about a little bit if you wanted to, but lifting up out of the chest. So my hips aren't on the floor, it's all quite relaxed. Try and keep that length in the spine, and then coming all the way back. Let's just do one more. Wiggling through and lifting. So top to toe, gentle, using, just really trying to go to the edges as always with our movements. Great, so we're going to come down onto our elbows now, elbows and knees. Bring your elbows, keep your hips back on your heels if you can. Bring your elbows quite close together, and our first movement is going to be a rotation. So we're going to take, in fact I'm going to turn this way, which will make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. I'm going to take one side, my hand, put it into a salute, so the elbow is level with the hand and the wrist. And then from here, so your elbows were close together, so you've come from a central place here. From here we're rotating, trying to look past that elbow and just rotating one side of that upper back. The nice thing about this is your hips will stay fairly still, hopefully. So you're not dropping the elbow down, you're just coming back level. So your shoulders are level and that elbow and that arm is level with the shoulders parallel to the floor, and then swapping sides. Off you go, if you haven't already. Fingertips at the side, taking that salute. When you change sides, don't worry if you've still got a little bit of catching up to do, but when you change sides, notice if one side is tighter than the other. Probably your handedness side will be the tighter one. So let's either return to the tighter one or do a couple more on each side. So do extra on your tighter side if you want to. If you can't notice the difference, just do a couple more on each side. This time let's take our breathing with it. So big breath out as you rotate. Breath in to return. Breath out, breath in. I'm going to do a couple more on the other side. Breath out, breath in. And noticing as well that when you really take that full deep breath out, it should just help you get a little bit more rotation in that spine. One more exercise here, one more movement here. Great for the shoulder mobility, flexibility, see how you go. So from this salute, I'm going to reach my arm forwards. I'm going to sweep the arm round, palm is down, it's in the air, and I'm going to turn the arm and the shoulder and put the back of my hand in the small of my back. Then I'm going to reverse it, lifting the hand up, and this is my good side by the way, so it looks quite easy. Palm is down, reaching forwards, coming back into the salute, and again, forwards, sweeping, rotate everything. Try not to let that shoulder collapse down. Try and keep it lifted. Try and keep the elbow lifted as well. And then extend. In fact, let's extend towards the feet before you rotate. The same way we're reaching towards the out in front of us to start. Let's do one more. Reach forwards, sweep it round, down towards your feet, and there. So don't let that shoulder collapse, lift it up, keep your collarbone nice and level, elbow is lifted as well. And then we're extending towards the floor, towards the feet, sorry, and then coming in on the other side. I'm just going to go this way. So other hand, lifting up into the salute first, reach forwards. Keep the arm at the same height all the way if you can. This is a dodgy bit on this side for me, and you can probably really see it actually. My shoulder is really dropping in, so that's my challenge, is not to let that happen, to try and keep that shoulder girdle nice and level. And then extending, palm is down. This is a bit like our shoulder tracing from foundation training. Oh, and try and lift that elbow, open up the front of that shoulder, reaching. I'm going to do two more on this side because this is my tighter side. Tucking in. And one more. Make sure you're breathing, make sure you're not holding the breath. Oh, especially if it's a little bit tight, as it is for me. And coming forwards. Fantastic. Okay, we've got one more thing here. On all fours, lifting your, my top's really baggy today, I'll tuck that in. Lifting your opposite arm and leg. So from a perfect all fours square box position. Stretch the opposite arm and leg away, fingertips and toes touching the floor. Lift them up to the height of the body. Keep the leg nice and straight, arm nice and straight. Arm should be by your ears. Watch that you don't lock that supporting elbow out. Hold the arm and the leg there. Twiddle. Hand at the wrist, foot at the ankle. Between 5 and 8 in each direction. So I only want to see the hand and the foot moving for our top to toe class today. Holding everything else really still, holding that torso nice and strong. Great, touching the floor when you've done, checking out that when you come back in and swap sides, there isn't a great big shift because you're already stable. You're already there. Opposite arm, other side arm and leg, touching the floor first, making sure you're not overreaching, then lifting to the height of the body, fixing the arm and the leg, twiddling. Hand and foot at the ankle. Make sure it's a really big circle, the biggest circle you can. Change direction. Make sure you haven't dropped down with that upper body, lifting up out of the floor. Quite hard work. And touching the floor, coming back in, noticing that there wasn't too much of a shift to get yourself back to all fours and having a little rest. Well done. Great, we are coming to sit forwards. So we're building up to this movement, and I'm going to show you this first because once we've used our props today, hopefully, if you've got them, if you haven't, get them for next time, you'll notice the difference in, for me, my movement. So I haven't actually practiced this at all today. Normally, by the live class, I've done the class at least a couple of times in that day. So the full movement will be a reaching up, a flexing forwards, a bit tight on the hamstrings, and then we're going to take a full roll down with our legs out straight. We're going to take the arms up and over, back up again. Now that's the bit that I'm really interested in. And then we're going to reach up and reach forwards again. But we're going to build up to that first of all. So it's that movement in the lower back. So if you've got a band, take your band. So this is one way to train this movement pattern. So we're just looking at training the roll down to start with. So with your band around your feet, and have quite a lot of tension in the band. So bending the legs, I call this the go-kart position. So feet and knees are hip width apart. Legs are bent. I've taken hold of the band near my knees, so it's quite strong. And I'm going to try and keep my arms bent as well. And then we're going to so you can do all of this without the band. You don't have to have the band. But we're basically doing our C-curve into a roll down. The beauty of having the band and keeping your arms and your legs bent is that I've got all this lovely tension here, which is helping me. My elbows are going down to the floor, my head's going down to the floor, then I'm tucking my chin in, and I'm going to use that stretch in the band just to push my legs away a little bit and round all the way up. So, and again, so if you carry on, if you're using the band, but make it looser and looser as you go, so that your reliance on the band becomes less and less. So you're basically teaching the muscles how to do this movement. So another way to do this, if you didn't have a band, hands around the back of the knees, controlling all the way down. You might need to, if you struggle to get back up again, throw the arms. A little bit of a cheat there, but you might want to throw the arms and then come all the way back up. So hopefully you're either doing one or the other of those. But if this is all looking pretty difficult and it's not really happening for you, so don't forget we're aiming for a straight leg. We're aiming for straight legs, no reliance on the band, and coming back up again. That's the tough bit. So this is where the magic top comes in. The magic top, or I've got a scarf and I'm just folding it over. So it's just that little bit, maybe half an inch of support. So what we're going to do now is try and do our straight leg roll down. So this is called the magic cushion, magic top, because it makes such a world of difference. So from being nice and upright, with your legs out straight if you can. You could also do this hands underneath the backs of the knees. In fact, let's try that hands underneath the backs of the knees first. So legs are bent, hands underneath the backs of the knees, rounding the back. What happens is, about now, I'm just starting to feel contact with that top, and it makes me feel very, very strong and secure. It really is like magic, I can't really explain it. So rolling all the way down, head finishes the movement up, and then because I've got this here, and it's in the small of my back, it's in the deepest curve of my lower back, I can tuck my chin in and I can come up, no problem at all. So that's the easier version with the legs bent and holding onto the backs of the knees. Now I'm going to show you with the legs out straight to have a little go. So legs are out straight. I'm tucking under, I'm rounding the back, I've made contact with that, and it's like, oh yes, I've got so much extra control here. I'm tucked under, I'm still really tucked under in my lower back. I'm pushing my lower back into the magic cushion. Let's call it the magic cushion. Pubic bone is higher. I haven't let that relax. If I let it relax, we're going to lose the impetus. So staying tucked under. Take the arms up overhead, bring the arms up in front of your face, tuck your chin in. That contact is there, and it just means suddenly that I've got all this extra control coming all the way up. So, hopefully all of that made some sense. Hopefully you had some success with some or all of that. Let's do the full exercise. Now we're a little bit more warmed up. So, flexing the feet, arms are up to the ceiling. We're going to start with a nasty hinge from the hips, which will stretch your hamstrings, and this is really difficult. I haven't got loads of flexibility here, but I'm trying to keep my spine in its natural curves. Nothing has changed. My arms are up by my ears. It's a strong old stretch. Reaching, hinging forwards, and then I'm going to relax and release all the way forwards. You may be able to touch your toes. You might just be touching your lower legs. Absolutely fine. Now imagine someone is pulling your waistband back behind you. They've got hold of this and you're being pulled back in that direction. So you're tucking that pelvis under, arms are parallel to the floor, feet stay flexed maybe, they could be pointed, but legs are nice and straight. I've found my magic cushion, it feels absolutely wonderful. I've got full control, head has gone down last, arms are going up and over. A strong ribcage connection here. Then hands up in front of the face, tuck your chin in. So staying rounded until you get those shoulders over your hips, which for me is about now, and then I'm going to reach up to the ceiling. So let's have flexed feet here. Let's sort these feet out a little bit. Flexed feet, hinge forwards, get that stretch on the hamstrings, try and lengthen out from the floor. Then relax your feet, relax your toes. Now let's go pointed feet as you roll back all the way. It is like some sort of miracle with that something in your lower back, and if you haven't tried it, please do. And then we're coming up, last one, flex the feet, reaching up, hinge forwards, and relax, and round forwards. Now point those feet, now scoop that tummy all the way back down, and then arms up overhead. Fantastic. Take the magic cushion top scarf away, the magic little helper there. Brilliant. We are going to okay, we're going to take a Garuda. It's a Garuda yawn, and it's what we did last week in class, where we brought the hands up the centre of the body and we extended, and this time we're going to extend the same leg. So curling the fingers in to on the camera side, bring that hand onto your tummy, onto your lower abdomen, slide the hand up the centre of your body past your nose, and at the same time stretch the same side leg away. The hand at the top, I've rotated it, so my sort of thumb is away, my little finger is in the middle, I'm stretching the leg away, and now really try and lengthen, it's a yawn, lengthen down that one side, pushing your upper ribs especially into the mat, pushing them sideways to really try and get this length, extending toes, fingers and toes away from each other. My head just lolls slightly to the other side, and then flexing the hand, circle the arm round, back to the centre and draw the leg back in. Let's swap sides, over the other side. Curl those fingers in, make that bud come up through the centre, extend the leg away, extend the arms away, and stretch, 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 stretch. Really just think about lengthening that side, one side of the body, and flexing. Let's do one more each time. This should be a breath in. Let's take a breath in as we bring the arm in. And a breath out as you hold it there and stretch away. Feel like you're hanging from a branch. And a breath in to return, breath out, one on the other side. Breath in. Everything is stretching away. Hold it there, breath out. Breath in. Let's do doubles now. Both hands coming up the centre, both legs stretching away. And this time we're going to go breath in. Like a big yawn, stretch everything away from it, both ends. And then a breath out to come back to centre. Breath in. Really reach away and breath out. One more of those. Noticing how you have to stay switched on in your centre, keep the ribcage drawing down, push the ribs at the back into the floor, especially when you're bringing those legs back. You're a little bit switched on in that lower abdominal wall, which is exactly what we want. Let's take some, let's move on from here. So Now we're gonna stretch those arms and legs out, but into a star this time. And again, take a big breath in, when you're here. So we're going out more to the corners now, right fingertips to toes all the way through that body. And then we're bending the knees in, bending the arms in, lifting the head up, taking hold of your knees, your shins, rounding the spine, really rounding the spine. As we do this, we're going to breathe out, and breathe out really fully. So all the way out, and then breathe out a little bit more, really clear the lungs of all the breath, and then hold your breath as you lower, and then hold your breath as you extend. Now take a big deep breath in. And breathing out as you draw, gather everything in. Breath out, breath out, breath out. A little bit extra on that breath out. Hold it. You don't have to hold it, but try. And extend. Now big breath in. And breath out. Getting that lower back off of the floor, upper back completely off of the floor, head towards your knees, holding as you lower, stretching away, big breath in. This time we're going to come into our tight little ball, breathing out all the way, but then don't worry too much about the breathing, just try not to hold the breath too much. We're going to roll over onto your side, stay in your ball, roll over to the camera side, and then now extend. Top arm and top leg away, and really reach them away, and then gently roll onto your back and open out the other arm and leg back into your big cross on the floor. And then we're drawing everything in, breathing out, rolling away from the camera this time. Relax that underneath arm and leg, stretch the top arm and leg away, try and push the ribs up towards the ceiling, and then gently roll onto your back, open up the leg, other leg and the arm. Good, let's do 2 more of those. Rolling in, breath out, rolling onto the side, relax, stretching away, big breath in this time, and roll onto your back. 1 more big breath in, and a breath out. Last one, rolling onto your side. As you extend away, breath in. And relax and roll onto your backs. Brilliant. Coming back into that tucked in position. So we're going to take this into single leg stretch. But the easier version, so your lower back is rounded, I'm pushing my lower back into the floor. I'm going to hang on to one knee for dear life. I'm staying at this height as I extend the other leg. My feet are level. This shin with the knees bent in is parallel to the floor, so it's not there, that knee. Pull it all the way into your shoulder. And then swap. Stay at the same height. Try and keep your head above your shoulders. Beautifully pointed feet, beautiful straight leg here. And swapping, and swapping. And no change, and no change. I haven't got time to interlace my fingers each time. I'm just hanging on to that knee for dear life. If this is too much on your neck, by all means lower your head and shoulders down. Still pull the knee in towards your shoulder, but take the straight leg higher towards the ceiling, not down here, because that will make you want to your lower back to tilt. I'm still pushing my lower back into the floor, hugging the knee in, compressing that hip joint, which is healthy for it. Not 100% 90 degrees, sort of where the ceiling and the wall meet. Stretching out, stretching out. Good. If you're still going, which you're probably not, we're holding on one side. We're going to take the opposite hand, is going to continue to hang on to that knee. The same hand as the knee, same arm as the knee is going to stretch away. We're holding it and we're twirling. Hand and foot, same as we did on all fours. See if you can get a little bit more twist, a little bit more height Hold the body really still. Change direction. It's tough. And swap in sides. Last one. Come on, lift up, lift up. Hang on to that knee for dear life. Legs are straight, arm is stretching away. Whoo. Circling foot and hand, nothing else is changing. Get a slight extra twist on that shoulder towards that knee, and well done. Drop down, cross your ankles over and just hug your knees in and just let your head roll from side to side on the floor. That should feel quite nice. How are we doing with timing? 1:45. Excellent. I feel that we have quite a lot of time for a change. Let's take some shoulder bridges, and let's go up in stages and come back down in stages. So feet and knees hip width apart. Just allow your spine to settle. Find your neutral spine. We haven't really thought about that much today. And then just taking the first stage of the pelvic, the first stage of the shoulder bridge, which is our pelvic tilt. So drawing that belly button in, that lower abdomen in, pushing the waistband into the mat, pubic bone is much higher, rolling back to neutral. Have a sense of rolling. There aren't really any vertebrae to roll, but imagine you are rolling a marble. Let's take the marble analogy actually. So when you're in neutral, you've got this marble in the centre of your body, you're just going to roll it back to the base of your ribs. And then, or to your waistband level, I guess, and then roll it back so it's in the centre. And then let's go to the next stage. So pushing the waistband into the floor, and then lifting the hips up, but only to the lowest ribs at the back. And that's where that marble has rolled to. And then lower, waistband into the floor, and roll back to neutral. So lower back, lowest ribs. Lower back, neutral. Lower back, lowest ribs. Next stage, middle of the ribs. Bra strap line. Bra strap line. The pointy bits of your shoulder blades. Pubic bone is really high. Make sure those knees are parallel. Rolling back through lowest ribs, lower back, and neutral. And again to that middle point. Lower back, lower ribs, middle ribs. And back down through. Lower back, lower ribs, middle ribs, all the way up to the top of your bridge. Really focusing on opening out the front of your hips here. Switching on those smile lines, your gluteal fold, making sure the ribs are connected and drawn down, but actually they're just relaxed really. My focus is trying to get those hips up as high as I can. Pushing down into the floor with your feet, so important. Push down with the whole of the foot, both feet into the floor. That will give you that little bit of extra lift. And then at the back of the body, we're on the top part of your shoulder blades, the top ledge if you like. So we're just there, everything else is nice and relaxed. We're going to come back down in stages, so we're reversing the movement. So we're just softening the ribs to the middle ribs and then back up again. This is probably the most difficult part of this. So middle ribs only, ideally the hips pretty much stay where they were, back up to the top. Middle ribs, lowest ribs. Middle ribs to the top. Middle ribs, lowest ribs, lower back, back up, lowest ribs, middle ribs to the top. I was just very conscious then, watch when you start this at the top that you don't let your shoulders peel forwards off of the mat. So keep that collarbone nice and open. Middle ribs, lower back, roll out to neutral. How luxurious does that feel? And then reverse peeling all the way back up to the top, through the stages really smoothly to get those hips up a little bit higher. And last one, rolling back down through the stages. And hopefully that felt wonderful. Good. We are lying on our sides in a straight line. So, nice straight line. I feel like I can undo this now. Okay, so let's have the underneath arm, the palm up to the ceiling, so that shoulder is slightly rotated. Lifting both legs up so that they're level with the top hip. Keeping them both at the same height. Lift your waist away from the mat. Shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked. Feet are beautifully pointed, and ideally insteps are touching. That might not work with the architecture of your legs, but if you can, that's what we're aiming for. And we're going to take marching feet. So we're flexing one foot, we're pointing the other, keeping the legs at the same height. Keep those legs up nice and high so that your inside thigh on the underneath leg and that pelvic floor on that side is working. Keep the waist lifted. It's very easy to just collapse on that underneath side, lifting up. Challenge yourself more, placing the arm along the side. This is my good side, I've just remembered. And then if you can and you want to, challenge yourself even more by sweeping the top arm over. Keep the feet going at the same sort of pace. You're marching with the feet. Top shoulder is down, so we're adding movement. And the ideal is lengthening from the fingertips to the toes. Top to toe, lengthening in opposite directions. And when you've had enough, put that hand down, bend those legs in, sit yourself up and just take a little twiddle around to the other side. So palm up, lengthen, waist lifted, legs are up, insteps are parallel. Shoulders stacked, hips stacked, and then get those feet going. So you should be feeling some work on the underneath leg, inside thigh. Slightly lifting your ear off of your arm, just again to create a little bit of length out through the top of the head. Placing your arm along your side to start with. I'm a little bit more stable than I was the other day when I did this, but this is my rubbish side. One side will always be better for balance than the other. Great, and then adding the arm waves if you can. Thinking length. Thinking as that arm goes up, you're trying to brush the ceiling. When it gets level with your body, parallel with your body, don't let it crash down. Think of it's lengthening away. Feet, toes are lengthening away at the same time. Keep that waist lifted, keep your rib cage connected. Brilliant. And bend those knees in. And sitting yourselves up. Great job. We are coming on to our tummies. And the movement that we did in the warm-up when we were standing, where we wipe the backs of the hands at the side seam, we're going to use that movement and basically do a dart type exercise. I'm going to go slightly on a jaunty angle. So, lying down on your tummies. Let's have feet together because we're going to work both ends of the body at the same time. So feet and upper body. Big toes together. Heels dropped out to the side. So you're really nice and relaxed. Make sure you've connected rib cage to hips, which means because we've come from an extension, you don't stay there. Don't stay with those ribs flat. Connect them, draw them down. Lift your hips up, wiggle about a little bit, make sure everything's in the right position. Backs of the hands again on the floor, tip of the nose touching the floor. Allow your shoulders to Quasimodo forward. So the fronts of my shoulders just about touching the floor. They haven't quite relaxed enough yet, but they're just about there. Great, we're going to work the turnout of the legs first. So squeezing the legs together as you rotate them in the hip sockets, switching the buttocks on, switching your turnout muscles on, your rotator muscles in the buttocks, in the hips. So my heels are together now, the backs of my knees are pushing together, but my toes are still on the floor. At the same time-ish, obviously not on this first one, you're going to lift just your shoulder tips up. So now my shoulders, instead of being quasimodoed in an arch, are in a straight line. From shoulder to shoulder is a straight line, parallel to the floor. Then let's wipe the backs of the hands up. So I've lifted my head up a little bit, not much. Tip of my nose isn't touching the floor. My head has just come up in line. Then let's wipe the backs of the hands up the side seam and reach the arms forwards. Palms are facing each other. My little fingers side is on the floor. My thumbs are up to the ceiling. My arms are quite straight. From here, I'm going to turn my arms around, sweep my arms round, sweep my palms down by my side, and then lift, open up the legs and lift my back into that lovely long dark position. And then I'm going to collapse and relax everything back down again. So let's go again. Let's try and there's a lot going on there. Let's try and do this 2 more times with all of those things going on. So turning the legs out, switch the buttocks on, heels together, toes are apart, lift the shoulder tips only. Then start to wipe the hands up that side seam. The head will have lifted a little bit, just naturally. Little finger edge on the floor, arms are straight, thumbs are up. As you turn the palms, and like a breaststroke action, sweep the arms round down by your side, open up the legs, and once your arms are past your shoulders, lift that back. Lift, 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 lift. Hold it there. Reaching fingers towards the feet. Everything is stretching in the opposite direction to the top of your head. Toes and fingers, arms reaching away from the top of the head, and relax. One more if you can. Here we go, even more fluid. So turning the legs out, heels together, shoulders lift up, wipe the hands, lengthen forward. So this is just lengthening in opposite directions, crown of the head stretching out in front of you, and then open out the arms, open out the legs. Can you get a tiny bit more height in that back? Hold it there, make sure you're breathing, and then relax. Fantastic. One more thing to do. Can't believe I'm so on time today. We're going to do a really strong abdominal bridge. Yeah, let's call it an abdominal bridge. So you're going to have your hands underneath your elbows to start with, but then just take them forwards a little bit and have your hands nice and flat. Open up the legs, curl your toes under. So this already might be feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and if you let yourself collapse, it will feel a little bit uncomfortable. So lifting up out of the floor. We're going to think about 8 points of pressure. So your hands, the elbows, the knees and the toes. And then at the same time, we're going to lift the chest and make the torso into a tucked under position, if you like. So imagine that someone is digging something into your breastplate here, just here. Imagine there's a stake or something, and you're trying to take your breastplate away from it. So as I do that, I'm drawing my rib cage, my lower ribs, more towards my hips. I'm rounding that upper back a little bit, and then I'm going to continue to lift so take a pelvic tilt basically at the same time. So I'm drawing my pubic bone in, and now my hips have lifted up off the floor. This is very strong work, and I'm on my knees, my toes, my elbows and my hands. Now push down the hands into the floor, push the elbows into the floor. Get a little bit more height, a little bit more curve. It's like a reverse curve, if you like, in your abdominal wall. Push down into your knees, push down into your toes, and now try and draw the limbs towards each other, but don't move anything. And you should be shaking a little bit in your abdominal wall. Rib cage is really drawn down, pubic bone tucked under, belly button strongly drawn back to the spine, And then have a little release. Good. Let's try one more of those. So in the position but quite relaxed, and then start from here, start from that breastplate, tuck it under, connect your rib cage. Your ribs at the back will push out, that's absolutely fine. Scoop that lower tummy in, tuck your pelvis under. It's like a hollow body abdominal exercise, but we're just doing it in a very challenging position. Push your arms into the floor, push your feet and knees into the floor. Create extra tension. It's quite strong, and I can feel quite a lot of shaking going on. And relax. So when we did this class on Saturday, at this point I said to everyone, you know what's next, and you should know what's next. It's wiggling about. It's using all that lovely heat that you've just generated in your torso, and just have a bit of a play. But actually everyone was just lying on their tummies on the floor and having a little rest. So I will leave it up to you. I'm just going to have a little bit of a move around, just because I know my body's going to feel so much better after that. So you could, if you wanted to, come up into a downward dog. I feel that's, as always, I feel like I want to stretch my calves. So I'm bending one knee, pushing the heel, and then I'm going to go into some bear walks. Forwards and backwards, but taking it really nice and slow. Maybe some sexy bear today. Yeah, let's celebrate the bank holiday weekend. Maybe being on all fours and taking some spine circles. This top really has gone very baggy. So taking some spine circles. Maybe revisiting when we were here. On your knees nice and wide, taking that sway, threading the needle through. Maybe some of our rolling around on your hips and your knees to come up to stand. How has the getting down to the floor all the way, getting back up again without using your hands, how's that been going? Maybe try that, some of that on its own anyway. Maybe just coming up to kneeling. Play about with it. And enjoy the rest of Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you again soon.